Hello, everyone. It's Sam here, and welcome to another episode of Sam's podcast. I'm with my good friend, Shades at Night.
Hello, everybody.
Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We've never, well, Kirk's done this before. I've never done this before. We're basically going to try it out today, and if we get good feedback and we enjoy doing it, then we'll probably do another one. But yeah, so today we're going to be doing an audio commentary or a fan commentary, as you will, on Spider-Man, the 2002 film, starring everyone's favorite actor, Tobey Maguire.
Our dear friend, Tobey Maguire, my inspiration, Willem Dafoe. Everyone's in this film.
Yeah, this was a big one. As much as people like to bash it nowadays, this was a really big film back in the day.
It was, yeah. I remember how, just remembering how big it was back in 2002. I was about 10 years old and, growing up being a Spider-Man fan, reading comics and watching the 90s animated show and
Yeah,
seeing these characters come to life. I mean, we'll get into some specific moments when we watch the film, but it was a big, big deal
yeah,
to kids, but it was a big deal to all comic book fans. So,
yeah. I mean, I was in the same boat. I had been watching the animated series before then, and
yeah.
funny story actually. Because we used to go to Blockbuster every weekend,
Oh, right. Yeah.
because it was a way for my parents to, I don't know, shut me up for a couple hours. Um, but they knew that I was very into Spider-Man, and so we looked at the titles they had available, and there was a Spider-Man DVD or VHS, and we got it,
Mhm.
but it was the '70s show, which was the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life.
As a kid, yeah, like you can watch it today as, as adults
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
enjoy it, but yeah, when you're a kid, it's quite boring.
yeah. And and so I kind of thought, okay, and then we saw the actual movie, and we were like, oh hey, this looks a bit more up to date. Of course,
Yes.
we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. Um, But yeah, so I remember watching that movie for the first time, and the second that happened, I was a Spider-Man fan for life.
Yeah. Did you get to see it in the cinema as a kid?
No, well, I mean, I got to see the second I saw that, I got to see two and three, but in the cinema. But I
Right.
never saw the first one in the cinema. It just kind of I don't even remember it being in the cinema, so it must have just completely slipped by me.
Yeah, like I mean, I understand that 'cause there are movies that when I was a kid, it's like, man, how did I not know that that was around when I was younger? But I mean, with Spider-Man, I remember seeing it in the cinema. I'm not sure how quickly I saw it or that, but my parents grew up, reading comics, and my dad was especially a huge Marvel fan, so this was a big event,
Right.
for me and my family, I guess. So yeah, it was a big, big deal in my household.
Right, well, as I understand it, there's really only one version of this movie. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, they released the 2.1 for the second film, but there's only one version of this film. I don't think I've ever even seen like deleted scenes or anything for this movie.
Um, I can't remember if I've got the special edition DVD. Um, so I've probably seen them, but
Hmm.
yeah, I don't remember anything sort of huge being cut from this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm quite sure there's only the one version of the film, but and like I said, it's just I don't think I've ever seen any deleted scenes from it. Obviously, there would have been stuff taken out because one thing that is interesting about looking at this film with historical perspective is that it's 2002. The X-Men had come a couple of years before it, and this and X-Men were the things that really brought the superhero genre, brought it to life. Obviously, there was Blade as well, but that really wasn't presented as a superhero film.
Yeah,
So with X-Men and Spider-Man, those were the films that helped uh, bring the superhero genre to life, and they were the two of the first superhero films to get sequels outside of Batman and Superman in the 90s and
yeah.
80s. So yeah, I can't remember where I was going with this, but anyway. Oh yeah, right. So yeah, what I was gonna say was, something that's interesting is that they did arguably Spider-Man's biggest villain straight away, and killed him in the end of the film. which today, we've sort of come to get used to, building towards the biggest villain. Whether it's like the Joker card at the end of Batman Begins and
Yeah,
stuff like that. Whereas this is at a time where you kind of did the big villain, first because you didn't know if you were going to make a sequel.
yeah. And in some ways that's quite good because it means they're not just half-assing it.
Exactly, yeah. They were trying to make the best film possible because, excuse me, because they might have only had one shot at it. So it's interesting looking at this back in the day when there wasn't, superhero films were not the it thing yet.
Yeah.
So
Right. Well, if anyone is listening to this, basically, if you want to get out I'm gonna try not to sound exactly like Captain Logan when I say this. If you want to get your DVD or your VHS or however you want to watch it,
your
um,
VH, if you're watching this on VHS, I applaud you.
um, and yeah, so get that timestamp up and get ready to press play when we say, Kirky, you ready?
Indeed, I am.
All right, I'm just getting ready myself.
Sam, are you ready?
I am now. Okay, everybody, get ready to press. I cannot say this. Press play in three, two, one.
Something that I really love about all three of the Spider-Man films, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, is the way the theme creeps in the Columbia logo,
Yeah,
and how the music changes when the Marvel logo comes up. That's something that's really unique and just really cool.
I always thought the score written by Danny Elfman was one of the most defining things about this trilogy. And there's parts where it's really cool and fast paced, but I like that opening because there's something a little bit sad about it. I don't
Yeah,
quite. There's some kind of emotional anchor that gets you the second it starts, and
there is. Yeah,
and this opening title sequence I think is practically iconic at this point. Even the
it
even the
is.
new Amazing Spider-Man film had to try and not look exactly like this when they brought the title up.
Yeah, I remember when Amazing Spider-Man came out, and it looked like it was doing a similar thing. And I thought, oh man, I feel like if that was up to me, I would have started a completely different way,
Yeah,
just because this is so iconic.
yeah,
It's like the Nolan Batman films don't have a big sort of opening credits sequence like the Tim Burton films.
mm,
Um, but yeah, it's these titles are really really cool, and yeah, I do like how the sequels. Bless you.
thank you.
I do like how the sequels show you, what's happened in the previous film. But I do love how this is so it's so subtle. And when Spider-Man sort of lifts his head in a later shot,
Yeah,
and even that like the hand there was like I remember as a kid being like, oh man, we're getting glimpses at Spider-Man.
yeah.
It was
I remember
sort of
just
cool.
trying to figure out what was going on,
Mm,
and then when this shot here, when their head comes up, that's
yeah,
that's when you're like, oh, this is gonna be good.
yeah. I also remember this moment here when the Green Goblin mask comes up, like looking over at my dad, like, "Oh, it's the Green Goblin." Because I don't think I knew who the villain was going into this movie. This is
Really?
also at a time, being a kid where I wasn't on the internet watching trailers or anything. I
Yeah,
might have seen a couple of TV spots, but the selling point of the movie was Spider-Man the character, not
yeah.
Spider-Man going up against the Green Goblin.
Which is probably partly why Willem Dafoe was such a massive shock when we finally saw him in the role.
Yeah, and also I think one of the best castings of a villain. Honestly,
Oh,
I think
definitely.
Defoe's great.
Defoe defined that role in the sense that I don't ever want to see anyone else try it.
Right? Yeah, yeah, and I do think Chris Cooper could have made a good fist at it, but yeah,
Apparently according to Mark Webb, he's those deleted scenes that never made it into the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Apparently they're still canon. So apparently he might come back as a head in a jar,
oh,
Futurama
good.
style.
I can't wait.
Um, so on the one hand, I guess that means they're not going to give us information and just power on through with no plan, but means we get more Norman Osborn, so you have that.
Yeah, and Norman's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
And this film is definitely part of that. Like, I, as a kid, I wasn't sort of reading comics on a monthly basis or anything. As a kid, as a lot of kids did, they'd sort of go to a comic store and just, once every couple of months, if that, and they'd grab all the comics that had cool covers or what have you. So I wasn't like I didn't have a huge knowledge of the Green Goblin before this film um, came out because in the '90s cartoon, he does not have a huge role. I almost
No,
feel like
it was more
Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin.
Exactly, yeah. Hobgoblin was in the intro. Green Goblin wasn't, which is funny considering Green Goblin is, in my opinion, Spider-Man's biggest villain. Like, some people can say, can make great arguments for Doc Ock or Venom, but I think it's Norman.
Yeah. Well, Norman's the one that sort of has the most personal rivalry with both Spider-Man and Peter Parker.
Yeah.
What do you think of Kirsten Dunst?
I think in this film, she's good. I actually don't mind her at all in this film. I think she looks the best in this film as well. And I don't want to be,
Yeah.
I don't want to be rude or whatever, but I, I believe her as the girl next door that Peter is, he's super in love with. And I actually, Tobey Maguire, I think is really good as nerdy Peter Parker. Like this is
Right. Sorry to if our signal was cutting out, so we had to end the call and start again. But we're back. Um, so this
indeed.
is a car pulling up.
Yes.
I do like the hairstyles.
I think that Franco and Defoe look like father and son. I think it's really
Yeah.
cool. It's good casting.
And it's interesting seeing them now because Franco is in comparison to all his other roles. This actually looks quite, like a interesting, weird decision for him.
Yeah, well, it's
I don't see
certainly at a
Seth
time.
Rogen anywhere.
Yeah, it's time to change. This is definitely before he was, a star. Like he had sort of had a breakout role playing James Dean. I think in a television film. I'm not certain, but and he gave a great performance there. And then he got this, and that sort of skyrocketed him.
Good old Willem Dafoe.
He's the man.
And I like how he doesn't come off as a villain in the beginning.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
as
agree.
because if they based it a little more on the comic books, because I mean Norman's always been a bit cynical, um,
Yeah,
and been a bit, you know, uh, intense when it came to science, but they do a good job at establishing that him and Peter that he does actually have a respect for Peter, as opposed to seeing him immediately and being like, "We're going to be villain, hero, and villain."
yeah, exactly. And I like the subtlety in his father, you know, fatherly performance.
Yeah,
He's not a straight up dick to his kid. But he's this, super successful business guy, and his son drops out of high school. So,
yeah,
yeah, he just looks like someone who doesn't know how to properly parent his son,
yeah.
which is an interesting take on the character, but not at all a bad, take on the character. It's very Norman. And here we have Joe Manganiello before he was more notable as well as Flash Thompson.
Before he was in True Blood
Yes,
and showed his bum to everyone. Good times.
damn, I haven't seen that episode at all.
I don't actually watch True Blood. I don't know if he got his ass out.
There's a lot of nudity in that show. We probably did.
And this is also a clever way of establishing what the superpowers are going to be later on. This is a clever in terms of plotting. They clearly did their homework here, with
Yeah,
having the interactions between Peter and Harry and talking about Mary Jane, whilst this scientist is talking about the spider. They're not really paying attention to it, and then it pans up and you see that spider. I think it's very well done.
I agree. It does happen, extremely early in the film, which you probably wouldn't see today. But what I do like about it, exactly that the focus is Harry and MJ and Harry and MJ and Peter. But I love the way he watches this interaction, Tobey Maguire, mouth wide open. Um, but yeah, at the same time, when the scientists are saying stuff like, a sort of spider sense, like, you know, everybody knows, my spider sense is tingling. So stuff
Yeah,
like that makes you go, oh man, it's coming. That's cool.
yeah. And the spider also looks convincing for a CGI,
Yeah,
CG made thing.
that is one thing as well, is that it's 2002, and so some of the CG is going to look not the best, but still is a great looking movie, I think.
Oh, I mean, as long as that's a case where they had to use CG, I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah,
It's like the
yeah,
Fifth Element that was made in 1999, and the traffic looks almost PlayStation 2-ish, but I don't really care.
right. Yeah, I mean, some of the web slinging a little bit later is going to look a little, I mean, quite CG, but I don't at all blame them for not having a real spider crawl on the hand
Yeah,
of their lead actor. So,
yeah. And this is being a kid. This kind of interaction was cute, and
yeah,
you got excited. There's a charming innocence that gets me about this film every single time, and I think that people that say it's terrible or whatever, first of all, I think they're exaggerating how bad it is, or they're just whatever. But there's I just have this reaction of how can you not like Spider-Man?
yeah, I'm that way as well. This
It's a
is
bit
my
like Back to the
favorite.
Future. It's like why?
Oh, yeah,
It's not doing anything horrible.
exactly. Yeah, I don't understand why people would want to hate on this film. I understand big Spider-Man fans having problems with certain things they might do, but like, we're both fans and, we love it. And this is actually my favorite of the Spider-Man films. I mean, I think two is an excellent film, but this is my favorite. I just think it's one of the best, you know, tales of Spider-Man's origin, which has been done time and time again in
Yeah,
everything he's been adapted in. And once again, talking earlier about how this was 2002, and the structure of superhero films seemed to be quite similar. Of introducing the comic book's biggest villain in the first film and killing him at the end, whether it's Batman '89 or what have you. Um, and something that this film does as well is that it does the origin of the hero and the villain, you know, in just a couple of scenes within each other,
yeah.
which is something you don't really see anymore either.
I always got weirded out by the fact that both of their origins involved them both being topless, and I never quite knew how to feel when it cut from Willem Dafoe jumping out of that lab, and then Tobey Maguire waking up topless.
I have never even thought about that.
That shows you where my priorities are.
Yes.
I like this character with the glasses. I like the actor.
Yeah,
Doesn't
yeah, he's
doesn't
cool.
get too much to do, but he's quite good during the scene where he actually becomes the Green Goblin.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I believe Doctor Strom is a minor character from the comics. He
There's
might actually
there's
have
Charles
been
Xavier.
yeah. They had to put a bald guy in the wheelchair. I mean, come on. Not Charles Xavier is the only bald man to have ever been in a wheelchair, but still.
Starring Timmy. You watched the honest trailers for X-Men?
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
I
cool. I,
did.
I
Yeah,
didn't just
that's a
sound
good
like
one.
a horrible person. I'm referencing a video, guys. It's okay.
um, well, speaking of great casting,
Yeah,
right in front of us, I think Cliff Robertson, the late Cliff Robertson, sadly, and Rosemary Harris are just absolutely perfect.
yeah. They come off as genuine parents.
Yeah, and a genuine, married couple as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah, the actors have terrific chemistry, but it's a chemistry where you get the sense that they've been together for years, they know each other, they love each other. It just comes off naturally,
Yeah,
and that's part of the reason. I mean, I people will complain about the fact that it all happens too quickly and all that kind of stuff, but the the whole Uncle Ben situation, it chokes me up every time I watch the movie.
yeah, it's a very sad moment. I love how convincing it is. Everything's fine. This was weird. Apparently, they CGI Tobey Maguire's head onto the body of a much skinnier boy.
Oh, really?
Yes, because hence the reason why he's a lot more ripped in the
Well,
next scene.
I was gonna ask if they'd filmed this beforehand, but that would have been incredibly inconvenient.
Yes, they shot this, and then 3 months later, they're coming back.
And then they all went on holiday.
Yes,
I like how they show the Spider-Man getting bigger, so you're very
yeah,
aware that that's what's making him ill.
yeah. And I will say this as a kid, and I guess this is somewhat of a flaw. I always thought, why doesn't he tell anyone he got bitten by a spider? Like,
Well, that
but
yeah, but that's a problem with every single Spider-Man story.
sure, yeah. I mean, that was one thing I appreciated about Amazing Spider-Man was that he was creeping around somewhere he shouldn't have been, so that's why he didn't say
Yeah,
anything, and he didn't realize he'd been bitten until much later. But with this, he was in the facility when he got bitten, and he didn't say anything to anyone.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a
I do like how the color of the spider is the same as his suit will be later on.
yeah.
I think
I've always dug that as well.
that's quite inspired.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it once again it gives him a reason to design the suit that way.
Yeah.
And
So besides
yes, we
just
don't see.
America.
Yeah, that too. Yes, but besides sort of the notion of him, you know, how does he create the suit? How does he have the money to maintain the suit when it constantly gets ripped and everything? All that aside, it gives him a reason to design the suit the way it is. The fact that the spider was those colors, so that was just a little clever thing that they did that I really appreciated.
There was a nice little ad lib bit where he goes, "Oh, it's cold."
Yes,
I always found
poor
that
guy.
funny.
Yeah, same. I mean, he goes. That's the guy. He goes from being that guy. It's like, ooh, it's cold, to the Green Goblin all in one scene.
Do you remember what they called this green stuff in Spectacular Spider-Man?
Uh,
Globular
Globular
green.
green. Yeah.
Wow,
That's
subtlety. What's that? Always
he
made
was
me laugh.
addicted to the green.
Apparently they CGI'd the green smoke for this.
Did they really?
Apparently they did it in post production. They changed the color.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. How do you get green smoke?
Yeah,
Yeah.
not as in the smoke in general is CGI. So
Right, yeah, they color corrected the
yeah,
smoke, the dry ice. That might be why this room is so green as well. Like
yeah.
the floors and everything. I always thought that was a little on the nose. Like everything in this room is green, including the computer screens.
Maybe his favorite color was green.
Oh, red, that means bad. They killed Norman.
To be fair, the lounge in my I'm gonna start calling it my parents' house because I'm about to move. Um, everything's green because my mum really loves green.
There you go. Your mother is Norman Osborn.
Wow,
I
that'd be cool.
apologize to Sam's mother.
Come on, mate, look at his neck.
Oh man,
Back to formula.
I love that moment.
I remember getting excited at this bit. I was like, oh, he's about to see his abs. Not as in I was excited to see his abs, as in he was.
There's a running theme here. And, that was a simple trick of just you know, putting the camera out of focus as
Yeah,
he brings the glasses up. It was, yeah,
and I love his sort of whatever reaction where he just goes weird.
yeah,
It's like we're not gonna spend ages talking about it.
yeah. Peter Parker is someone who doesn't question things. He doesn't question if he should be okay when he gets bitten by a spider. He doesn't question that he's got abs or that there's a big change. But
I didn't get that till I was much older.
yeah, yeah,
Have you seen Tobey Maguire's screen test for this?
yes, it's very odd.
It's weird. It's
Yeah,
basically like a Bruce Lee kind of film.
it is. Yeah,
It's
and
like
he's all like he's super ripped, but he's still very skinny.
yeah, and
Um,
it's very dark and he's challenging
yeah,
them. To those that don't know, his screen test is basically someone getting, I'm assuming, mugged or raped, and Tobey Maguire shows up topless as if he's in a kung fu movie, and he challenges them all and then kicks all their asses. Interesting.
yeah. I mean, it's essentially like an alternate version of when he saves MJ.
Yes, true.
Um, and yeah.
Do you think they handled the abusive dad particularly well?
I think they spent as much time on it as they needed to. I mean, you know that she's hasn't got a great home life, and I think that's all you needed to know. I don't think you needed to see it before your eyes.
No.
Um, because then that raises sort of, even more questions about
Yeah.
the film, like, about these characters and everything. So, I think they spent enough time on it. But yeah, I remember as a kid thinking this was awesome. He was able to catch up to the bus. I was like, oh, he's doing it. He's Spider-Man. Why are all sports teams in America called the Wildcats if you're in high school?
I have no idea.
What is that?
Is that just movie logic?
It must be. Like, I know The Simpsons made a joke of it at one time.
Did they?
Yeah. Who are we? The Wildcats. Who are we gonna beat? The Wildcats. Dad, what are you doing on the floor? Love that line. There we go.
This bit, I used to skip past this bit as a kid because the flash of him going just creeped
Same. I
me
used to
out.
close my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The blade that pierced his body.
Of course, this film did the split personality thing before it was cool.
Yes.
Now every
Yeah.
superhero movie does it,
Yeah. And I think
or now every
you know,
Spider-Man movie does it.
that's true. Yeah. I mean, one of the running themes with Spider-Man's villains, and this is just, this is also in the comics, so I don't blame the films for doing this, but so many of Spider-Man's villains, it's some sort of accident that turns them the way they are.
Well,
You know,
Stanley was a. It's been established that he's a big fan of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
yes,
One of his
yeah,
inspirations for the Hulk, in fact. So that's my
yeah,
theory as to why most of the villains have that similar sort of origin.
yeah. But also this thing of, they're good people who get turned.
Yeah.
In all three of the Spider-Man of the Raimi Spider-Man films, that's the case. Well, actually, in all five of the Spider-Man films, the villain is a good person who, gets turned evil by this accident that happens to them.
I always thought this was funny. It's when
Yeah,
he
same.
when he runs out and the tray gets slammed up against the door.
Yeah,
I just love the way he gets up here.
He
Like,
just
wasn't
doesn't.
me.
I remember being afraid as a kid as well that someone would be like, when Spider-Man ended up coming out, being like, "Oh, I remember this kid in high school who was able to like, who had like a web hanging off of him at one point. Probably him."
Comes a big spider sense. I like the sound effect they use for it.
Same. Yeah, I love how they do his spider sense. Uh,
I especially like it in Spider-Man 2, where you get the real you get the sense of how powerful that sense can be when he sees that the train tracks are about to stop. It's a cool effect.
yeah, it is. Yeah, and like you said, that sound effect is just that's the spider sense. I love it
Yeah.
later when he's at the festival thing where Macy Gray is singing, unfortunately, and and he can sense danger. Also, I love this here where it's slow motion and he looks up and down the arm. It's great.
The extras are pretty funny as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god! I do
I
like
get
this.
that.
I do like this back and forth where she says help him and he says which one.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. But Peter Parker just did like 1,000 backflips in the air. No one thought that was
No
weird.
one can, no one's like what?
Yes.
But then to be fair, he also takes Spider-Man's pictures and no one even stops to assume that it's him.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, obviously they do in the comics and stuff, but
Yeah, it's part of it. It's a pastime of comics.
yeah.
Same with like Clark Kent and the
Yeah,
glasses.
exactly. It's a suspension of disbelief. And in fact,
Yeah.
I prefer this over the just putting on glasses thing. Even though I get
Yes.
why even though I understand why the glasses, not just the glasses, it's his personality, but it is a bit on the nose.
Yeah. Man, I visited New York in 2012, and at one point I found myself standing on the corner where that Baskin Robbins was, just
Oh,
there.
really?
And I was like, oh, wait a second. This is the alley
Oh,
where he climbs up the wall.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain I saw the Osborne house from the view of my hotel room, but I'm not too sure. They probably all look like that. This I thought was
Yeah.
cool.
Funny enough, I actually could see the Osborne mansion from my hotel room as well.
Right.
So yeah, when I noticed it, I was like, oh, wait a second, it's where Norman lives. I think this wall crawling looks fantastic.
Yeah,
The way he moves his body and sort of outstretches his fingers like that. I mean, it's comic book imagery and it just looks fantastic.
oh, definitely. And the camera work there is very good too.
Yeah.
This is the only part where the CG is a little bit like what?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty certain they also reuse a couple shots, like that shot in particular where Maguire looks up at the camera from the bird's eye view. I've always thought that looked a bit weird.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just a crowd cheering moment.
Yeah. And also like it's very, very funny.
Oh,
The
definitely.
yeah, the
Maguire
Shazam.
apparently ad libbed all these extra sayings.
Oh, that's cool.
Apparently, up and away was a big got a big laugh from the filmmakers.
Cool. I've always appreciated Shazam as well.
Yeah,
There's a couple of references here, like later when Aunt May says it's Superman and stuff like that. There's references to superheroes are sort of exist in this world in
yeah.
terms of being a part of pop culture.
They'd never be allowed to do that now.
No, not at all.
You're not Superman, and nor are you Batman, and nor are you fighting each other in 2015.
Yeah,
Yeah.
different world. It is amazing to think this was 12 years ago, though.
Blimey, 12 years. I always like the cut from him sliding down to him running to the road. It's as if he's been out all day having Spider-Man adventures.
Yes. missed painting the house.
What a jackass. I like that he calls him Michelangelo. I think that's funny.
Yeah.
If you really want to stretch, you just got a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reference in there.
Yeah, all these different comic books that get referenced in this movie. Oh,
What do you think of this scene?
I like it. It's innocent and you know, it because they're not together yet. It's kind of cool to see these characters who will
Yeah,
eventually become, have this tremendous romance. I think it's cool to see them in this early stage.
this is
Just sort of,
also, it's like the first scene where they actually stop to talk to each other,
yeah,
and you can actually see that even though Mary Jane hangs out with the popular kids, she's still obviously nice underneath.
yeah, yeah. She's not the sort of cliche,
Yeah, it's not like she
bitchy.
takes. Yeah, it's not like she takes the bins out and he says hi, and then she walks back in, ignoring him.
Yes, yeah. She's not her character from Bring It On.
No.
I'm just going to presume she's a bitch in that. I honestly don't know. I like the subtlety there as well of, she was just about to tell him her dream of being an actress. She feels sort of so comfortable talking to him about that sort of thing.
Yeah,
And, but she's a character that wouldn't just sort of say that to people.
yeah.
But there's something about, Peter that makes her feel comfortable to tell him that.
It's interesting that Kirsten Dunst looked like a kid in Jumanji in '95. Then she shows up in
Yeah,
Spider Man, and everyone's like, "Whoa, she's kind of hot."
exactly. Yeah. Sorry, man. Just give me one moment.
Cool, that's fine.
Okay, I'm back.
I said nothing.
Oh, great.
Not much to say about this scene.
No, no, it's just a nice
It's
scene
a tender
between.
moment.
It is, yeah. Like I said, these two characters that are destined to be together, and
Yeah,
sort of seeing them have like their first conversation, even though they've been in school together and they've been neighbors since they were kids. But because they sort of run into completely different social circles, they never interact.
yeah,
I also love how when Flash showed up there, Peter sort of slightly hit himself
yeah.
after beat him up earlier in the day.
And I like the teenage perspective that he has on this whole thing. Oh well, I need to get a car to impress her.
Yeah,
That's something that uh, albeit a younger teenager would probably think, but
yeah. Well, I mean, it's something that also young guys and girls, but certainly speaking as a guy,
yeah,
if there's a girl you're interested in, you try and do something or you change something about yourself that would make you appealing to her and to Peter Parker. It's
it's
getting
a
a
car.
car.
And I do like how that plays into the second film as well.
Yes,
He
yeah,
says, "I wanted to buy a car to impress Mary Jane." He's very aware of what he did there,
yeah,
and it comes from something innocent, and you want him to impress Mary Jane, but what I'm basically trying to say is I prefer this sort of way of portraying him as a teenager than having him moody against everyone.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, he's got sort of more like this teenage innocence, uh, but he's still a very noble character.
Yeah,
Um, and once again, that stems from, and this is something that's in the comics as well, is the fact that he was raised by his elderly aunt and uncle who would have instilled, these good values in him
yeah,
because of their age, and they would have instilled these good manners and good values in him, which and I don't want to talk too much about the Amazing Spider-Man films, but that's something that does bother me is how that's not there in Peter. And I'm not saying that Peter always makes the best decisions, and he's flawed in the way he deals with situations sometimes, and that's present in this film as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just think they made Peter too much of a moody teenager in the Amazing films.
yeah, they've done that in other things as well.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, with different times, teenagers are portrayed differently. That's just the way
yeah.
it works. You know,
Well,
undoubtedly in the '60s it was different, especially with having seen those comic books.
yes. Well, that's something that's really funny about going back to early issues of Spider-Man or X-Men or what have you. The way they sort of talk, it's really
Yeah,
funny.
or the dialogue in some of those older ones.
Yeah,
That's I love the death of Gwen Stacy's story arc, but my lord, the dialogue in that.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm looking at the poster on my wall right now of the cover of 122 of Amazing, and Peter's got this big speech bubble here saying, "You murdered the only girl
Yeah.
I'll ever love, and today's the day you're gonna die."
I like this conversation that happens between these two characters.
Yeah, I
Comes off as
agree.
very sincere, as it because it comes off as he's not he doesn't want to tell him off. He's just has to be a father in this situation, and he has to talk to him.
Yeah,
And this you know, them being in the car almost became sort of symbolic, or not symbolic. It became a memorable image, especially in the second one when he
yes,
when he thinks about talking to Uncle Ben, because that was the last time he ever saw him properly.
yeah,
I mean,
and it's a
he saw him
moment
dying
he
on the floor, but
wishes.
that's not the same.
Yes, it's also a moment he wishes he could go back and change.
Yes,
It's the great power comes great responsibility line here
yeah,
as well, which
and I like Uncle Ben saying it instead of him saying it at the end of the film or something like that, because that's how it was done in the original comic.
yeah, in the comic it's said by by the narrator of the comic, which is technically Stan Lee.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it's said by Uncle Ben here.
Just remember, Toby Maguire, with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
And I do like, you know, when he says, "Stop pretending to be my father." It's a very you don't hate Peter, you just get that he's being a bit of a dick because he's a teenager.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where I understand why he's this way because he is going through something and he wants to figure it out on his own. And
Yeah.
like there's that line in the scene as well where Uncle Ben says, "You've got all those weird experiments in your room," and I remember thinking like, "What is that? What does he mean by that?" And it's funny because it's probably like he's trying to set up you know Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a trailer for this movie, like a teaser that was shown at I think it was one of the Toy Fair things where he had web shooters.
I heard about this.
Yeah, which is strange. And right now, the
I
late
heard
great Randy Savage is on screen.
and Bruce Campbell
Yes,
in one of his he has to do a cameo every in all three of these films.
yes,
What was I going to say? Yeah, but I heard somewhere, I can't remember where, but I heard that originally they were going to give, in terms of the costume, it was going to be the same origin as the one in Ultimate Spider-Man, where he's given the costume sort of without the webs. It's just sort of plain red and blue. Um, the wrestling people give it to him based on the fact that he won the first match and he was going to come back. Um,
that's
but
interesting.
I heard that, and apparently it was cut. I don't know if that's true, but that would make a lot of sense considering it just sort of shows up.
Yeah,
And I do actually like that explanation for the costume the most of all of them. I never liked that he made the costume himself.
yeah, it looks like
It
something
betrays the
Hollywood
logic
would
of a
make.
teenager.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
living with his aunt and uncle. They're not the richest people in the world.
Yeah, well, that's part of his character as well, is that he doesn't have money.
Yeah.
Boom, so is ready. Just out of interest, what's the timestamp you see right now?
Uh, 38:29.
Oh, okay, sweet.
I like this back and forth. The human spider. The human spider. That's
Yes.
it. That's the best you got. What does he say? Is that? Did he say?
Oh,
Is
it
that shit?
sucks. He says it sucks. I
Oh,
don't.
okay. I
Yeah.
was gonna say. I was just like, wait, hang on. This is for children as well.
Yeah. There's no swearing in these films. I don't think.
It's interesting going back to movies in the 80s and 90s and then just casually saying, "Oh shit." They've even got that in the Transformers animated movie.
Do they really?
One of them, one of the characters says, "Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?"
Wow.
It's quite funny actually. I remember getting the toy of him in the wrestler outfit.
Same. I had that as well.
I remember this woman here who's in his face. It was like, why are you following him? Leave him alone.
Yes. Oh God, I can't feel my legs.
How much do you reckon they paid that actor?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like there was just this weird, like slutty nurse that was like taking him back on the
Yeah.
stretcher as well. I mean, I presume it's meant to be like, he's selling. So I guess as a big wrestling fan, this scene, there's something about it that's just it just does not make any sense. This is not how wrestling works. The promoter, I mean, this company looks, maybe as big as, TNA or something, and they've got like this big crowd, and this just this just would not happen.
I got you 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime. I do like this line where he says, "That's a cute outfit. Did your husband get it for you?"
Yeah, I like that too.
So
I mean,
Shame he doesn't have more of those wisecracking lines.
exactly, yeah, and I believe that's it's Christopher Daniels, the pro wrestler, in this scene as Spider-Man, who is an
Right.
excellent wrestler, but he really nailed that Spider-Man pose earlier
Yeah.
when he leaps down from the cage. He's a big comic book fan and has done stuff with Marvel.com and everything. But yeah, he's so good as as Spider-Man in this scene.
I used to get really I used to get really confused. Like he's cheating because they had to give crowbars and everything.
I don't get how this cage. I mean, what the hell's it made of?
I was about to ask because I thought maybe you'd know because you were a wrestler person, but
Well, I mean, they don't make cages like this for wrestling. In wrestling, cages are generally mesh, that mesh, wiring sort of metal.
right. I do like how you can tell he's smiling.
Yeah, same.
Got the massive grin on his face.
Yeah. His promoter here. He's no Vince. He's he gives him $100, and he's got like these pictures of like like porn stars on his wall in a second. Like, how does this man run a business that big?
And I do like how they they make a point to show how much money he does have and how much money he's choosing to give.
Yeah,
It's quite funny. And they've got the setup and payoff with the line. Um,
I missed the part where that's my problem.
that was it.
Yeah, he stole the game.
I do like when they when he goes to the flashback and the actor chooses to make the thanks even more like sincere.
Yes.
Like
Well,
thank
I
you,
mean,
thanks, buddy.
I like how it's different in the way he remembers it as well, as if like the robber looked straight at him in slow motion and everything, because
Yeah,
obviously it didn't occur that way. It's just the way he remembers it. It's kind of cool.
Where do they imply that he's been shot?
Sorry, what?
Where is it implied that he's been shot? Because
I
I just took a long look at the body and there's no blood.
Yeah, he's holding the wound on his chest.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I completely
They
missed it.
might not have been able to focus on it for the rating.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I saw that as shadow.
yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, that's the thing. You wouldn't even know it's blood,
Mm.
unless you were looking at it. So, yeah, that might have been a. I'm not sure what this film is rated, but that might have been part of making it kid friendly.
I think it's a 12. Or well,
Okay,
in the UK it's a 12. That would probably make it a PG-13 on.
the
What are
American.
the ratings like in Australia?
We go from G for general, then PG,
Yeah,
then
we've got
M,
PG.
yeah, then MA 15 plus,
Right.
yeah, that's and then R, which is 18.
I like the. We've just gone past it, but I like the line "You're a hero, Uncle Ben." That whole scene is very well done, and it's only for a split second, but um, yeah, it always gets me.
It's a
This
really
part,
sad scene.
this part now where he's jumping around. I think this is the only noticeable dated CGI.
Yeah, this is actually
Think
what I was referring to earlier when
yeah
I said when he's web slinging. I was
yeah.
thinking of this because when he's web slinging as Spider-Man at the end, I think it looks fantastic.
Well, they
But
had the adage of the camera system that they built for this whole film.
right,
The Spider Cam, I think they called it.
yeah,
This always made me laugh. He swings and doesn't realize that he's gonna bash into the building.
yes. It's like, oh wait, that was a bad idea.
But I think this is really well done. I like the camera work that they have with this bit in particular, where it starts from one end, it goes, and then it swings around. It's very well done. It's hard to describe it, but
It is,
it,
yeah,
it follows him from behind, and then it turns around and it follows him from the front. I think it's very well done.
yeah, I agree, yeah. Now, were you at all surprised as a kid, or when you watched this film, that it was the robber that stole Uncle Ben's car and shot him?
Um, I well no, because when they showed him in the car, I could tell who it was.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. I mean, I guess they try and hide it, because they gave him like this spiky white hair, and here he's wearing a beanie. But
Yeah,
I, I remember thinking how weird it was that they tried to make that a reveal. So I thought, oh, weren't we meant to know that? Like,
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that was really
For
obvious.
me, it always kind of went without saying. Even as a kid, I knew that he was the guy that shot Uncle Ben.
Mm,
Um, for some reason, I'm not sure why.
yeah.
Maybe I just don't remember being surprised by it.
Mm,
I've always liked this bit in particular, the shot of him towards the camera and Spider-Man just sort of poking up from upside down behind him. I've always thought
yeah,
that was a cool, creepy image.
I agree, and it's such a Spider-Man image as well. Like we don't get to see much of him hanging upside down.
Yeah, and that was in all
Um,
of the trailers as well.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, here it is. Here, like
Yeah,
that is the same as like Superman standing with his hands on his hips and his cape
yeah,
flowing. It's that sort of same imagery
yeah.
that's synonymous with the character.
I really like the choreography they did there with the knife. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I loved how he grabbed onto the knife and kicked him. It
Yeah,
was great.
I suppose they had to treat it as a reveal for him.
Sure,
He
yeah,
has to have that realization that it was he was partly responsible. If he hadn't stopped the guy, then Uncle Ben probably wouldn't have got shot.
that's fair. Yeah,
I did never really understand how the guy just gained all this confidence and stuck a gun in his face after he was just practically nearly killing him, but
Well, I mean, he suddenly let him go and was sort of,
He was shocked, yeah, I'll give you that.
yeah.
What do you think of the fact that he looks pretty evil here?
Um, I
Because
mean, it was an accident, but it's also one of those things where like he needs to learn how to do this because he went out looking for vengeance
yeah,
and technically he got it though he didn't like straight up murder him physically. Um,
it does
it
work
was the guy.
better. It
Mhm.
does work better with Spider-Man 3. You know, the fact that they address it.
Sure, yeah, like I do like the line in Spider-Man 3 where he says, he tripped and he fell. I told you that. I do like how he tries to justify it as
Yeah.
he didn't do it. Um,
And of course, it's a technicality, but in terms of how he felt, that's what's important. Um,
yeah,
and in terms of he's got a dark side somewhere in him. I do like that scene when I think about Spider-Man 3. Unfortunately,
yeah,
that's the only part of Spider-Man 3 I like when I think about it in the context of the trilogy.
yeah. Well, I remember thinking when Spider-Man 3 was coming out because I remember hearing that it was they were going to readdress the death of Uncle Ben and his origin,
Mm.
and that Sandman would have had something to do with it. And I thought the fact that he'll have the black suit and that will be, so he'll have this extra drive to get revenge. I remember thinking that was going to be really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, having watched this movie, there's obviously no intention of having the real guy who shot Uncle Ben be someone else. It's clearly an
No,
afterthought.
yeah,
That's
and
part. That's part of why I hate it so much in Spider-Man 3.
that's really lame.
This has always been an interesting space suit.
Yeah, I love how they think that this is more revolutionary than the Green Goblin suit. It's like
Yeah.
this is like a big tube. I love this transition of the hats.
Yeah. I like the say. Was it say chess?
Say chess, yeah. That's so great. It's Peter, the Science Award. He just his son is such an afterthought. Afterthought. It's yeah,
James Franco does a nice job uh,
he
in
does.
the
Yeah,
background there, just sort of subtly being like, "Oh, well, fuck you then."
yeah. And it's also extra, incentive to go out and ask
Yeah,
Mary Jane here.
yeah.
It's like his father is enamored with Peter, so he's gonna take something from Peter.
Yeah, and also he wants because it's really established the only reason he wants Mary Jane is to impress his dad.
Yes, yeah.
So it's
He wants
almost
to,
as if he goes looking for another way to do it.
yeah. Say this is the girl that Peter wants and doesn't have the balls to go and get her, so I'm gonna do it. And so yeah, it's just yeah, it's layered, and I like that.
Mm. A lot of the time, people only see what's right in front of them.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try not to talk constantly about how people bash this movie unfairly. Now, this is the. I was watching this with Jess, and then when this bit came up where he's crying again, she went, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Do you think he cries one too many times?
Um, it's hard to say because it did not bother me until uh he's honestly as a standalone film, I think it's okay. I think it's become somewhat of a cliche in the trilogy because he
Yeah.
cries in all three.
I mean, to be fair,
Um,
he in the third one he cries 3 times. In the second one he
yeah,
cries once because it's a big decision. I'm fine with him crying there, and I'm fine with him crying here. Although I
yeah.
I, I think there's men don't like watching other men cry. There's some kind of uncomfortableness with the sensitivity they're seeing. Um,
Maybe yeah, it might be what it is. Because like he follows it up with the line, "I missed him a lot today." How can you not like sympathize with this character
yeah,
that's lost his father figure here?
yeah, exactly.
You know, as and the regret he feels, like the way he says there. He tried to tell me something important, and I shoved it in his face, or I threw it in his face.
Yeah,
And
it's important that
like
they
the
address all that as well.
yeah, it is. And like you said, in Spider-Man 3, he cries a bunch of times. Like when MJ breaks up with him, like, oh please, please don't say that. Like that is what I'm not saying he shouldn't cry when his girl, the love of his life, is dumping him for no reason, but it's because he cries constantly throughout the trilogy. It's become this thing that it's easy to make fun of.
Yeah, I am surprised, however, that oh, can I just say I really like this transition of going through the spider symbol and
Oh yeah,
and then him swinging in the city. I think that's very well
yeah,
done. I've always liked that. That always got me
yeah,
pumped up. And this is the first real use of the spider cam
yeah.
going through the traffic there. I thought that was cool. Now,
Um,
it's interesting to note because a lot of people nowadays a lot of more people know about the 9/11 fiasco where
yes,
there was a trailer which involved a heist and these guys getting away in a helicopter and Spider-Man catching them in between the two towers.
yes,
Um, and in the trailer, it zooms out of his eyepiece, and there's Spider Man. It's the big reveal. Now
yeah.
that shot is still in the movie, and you can still see the towers in the film in his eyepiece in the reflection.
You
So
can, yeah,
there's a lot of theories going around that that was going to be the original, you know, big reveal in the movie that Spider Man was around and he looked like this and all that kind of stuff. Because he does sort of just show up.
he does, yeah. And his Xena, warrior princess, cameo.
I like this variation on the theme as well.
So, one big hug. I've always thought that was so funny.
Yeah, and I also appreciate there's the shot, and I also
It is, yeah,
appreciate the going around all the public citizens of New York. Yeah,
yeah.
it's important to consider what the general public thinks of Spider-Man, and that's a perfect lead in to J. Jonah Jameson.
It is, yeah, and the different people there. It's like actually he stinks and I don't like him,
Yeah,
and like I said, showing Lucy Lawless, thinking he's hot because he's got 8 hands or whatever.
yeah,
Like I think I like all that. It's different, these differing opinions on as he's rising to prominence in the city, and I remember thinking when I first saw this film that reveal shot of J. Jonah Jameson. I was just like, oh my God, he looks exactly like the character. And
yeah,
I'd never sort of had that experience seeing someone, just look so perfect in a role before that, because JJ has such a look that you can't sort of tamper with, like he looks the way he looks. He's got the mustache, the hair, you make him look any different, then he doesn't look like the character anymore.
yeah.
Um,
And J.K.
and
Simmons, bloody hell.
oh, just perfect.
Yeah,
A bald
there,
guy with no mustache, and he's perfect for the role.
yeah.
It's
There's
amazing.
there's a reason they haven't tried to recast this guy in any of the new movies.
Yeah, and this Moondance diner has appeared in a lot of different things.
Peter, didn't Monica Geller work there at one point?
I was just about to say Monica worked there in Friends as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I visited New York, there was like a bunch of places I wanted to visit from films. I was like, can we go to the Moondance diner? But
I do
I
like
never
this.
found it.
I do like this back and forth, where she's again putting on the face. She's putting on a happy face,
Yeah,
and then she's kind of forced to deal with the harsh truth. And then
yeah,
there's there's a personal thing with her and Peter that she doesn't feel comfortable enough to show that side of herself to Harry,
yeah, exactly.
and
Yeah,
and Peter is the complete 180 to her dad and the other people around her that I get why she falls in love with him.
yeah, exactly.
And I've always appreciated that she fell in love with him and not Spider-Man.
Yes,
I mean, she
yeah,
obviously had a flirtatious this guy's hot because he keeps saving me, I don't want to kiss him, but at the end of the day it's Peter that she was after, it wasn't Spider-Man. It wasn't as if she found out he was Spider-Man and then she got with Peter. I like that they didn't do that. She found out afterwards.
Yeah, I agree. That's always been something I've liked about MJ and Peter getting together. That it wasn't, she fell in love with Spider-Man, who just happened to be her friend Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And the line towards the end of the film where she says, the person she was thinking about when she was about to die was Peter.
Yeah.
And I also love the line that Peter just said there of, "We should get lunch some evening." I've always thought that was hilarious.
I've never even
He's
thought
trying
about
to,
that line before.
yeah, it's just he's flirting with this, he's trying to sort of, flirt with this girl, sort of.
Yeah.
It's like, let's get lunch some evening.
I've never noticed
To
the
be,
McDonald's product placement there before.
oh, I didn't even see it.
Well, there you go, folks. I do
I
like this apartment they've got.
Same, yeah, and I like apparently Defoe's ad-libbing all that stuff there, and you can tell a rich guy bought this apartment because look at the pretentious douchey
Yeah.
painting on the wall there. But I also love how like Norman goes 3 contracts, it'll be great. Ha ha ha! Just this businessman jargon that he's just spitting out there. We also had a name drop of Dr. Connors in that scene just there as well.
Does he show up? He doesn't show up in this one, does he?
No, it doesn't show up till the second,
Yeah.
but Peter says that Dr. Connors fired him, which sort of doesn't work with what they do with him in the second and third films where he's his professor.
Yeah.
And the utter glee on the face of Defoe just there when he thought that Peter, was gonna, that he thought he could help Peter get a job.
Yeah. And,
It's
and
so
then
good.
and then his face brightens up even more when he it's established that Peter wants to be more independent. He really respects him.
Yeah, yeah.
I want photos of Spider-Man. I always enjoyed this establishing of how he gets the pictures.
Yeah. That's the thing. They do so many like staple Spider-Man stuff in this film.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
It's I've always thought, I'm getting incredibly sick of the phrase faithful to the source material and stuff like that. I've always thought this is faithful and it, does its own thing. It's a movie, it's not a comic book.
Yeah, I agree.
There are things it changes, like the web shooters, but they're conscious creative decisions, They didn't want to slow the movie down by explaining how a teenager managed to, make web shooters, similar with the costume.
Yeah. Like the costume is what it is, and you sort of just got to accept it. Like if
Yeah.
you want Spider-Man to look like Spider-Man, it's just how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But
And it
like him creating web shooters doesn't make sense. So I like the fact that he it works here. I'm glad they didn't do that in the reboot. Have him have organic web shooters, and at one point they brought it into the comics, and they eventually got rid of it. Ironically, with One More Day, that was one of the things that
yeah.
got retconned. But
Well, I remember this movie in particular made them change it to organic, didn't it?
yeah, I'm not sure if it was this movie or if it was it happened later in the piece. But I think with these films, it made them go. Doesn't that sort of make sense? Because Marvel was certainly, and they do this even now. Like the Winter Soldier looks exactly like the Winter Soldier of the movie
Yeah.
in his new series. But Marvel have always sort of done this where they let their films influence their comics sometimes too much, and when it's not needed, like after Daredevil came out, like Daredevil carved a big bullseye into Bullseye's head, which
Yes.
made no sense.
I do like the subtle flirtatious back and forth between Peter Parker and Betty Brant in the first couple movies.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, and once again, Elizabeth Banks, who's a much bigger actress now than
Yeah.
when this film came out.
There's even a movie where Tobey Maguire and Banks play husband and wife,
They do.
which
Yeah.
I have not seen, but it involves a piano falling on Tobey Maguire in a sequence which you used for What Did We Do?
It does
Which I
indeed.
which I thought was one of the funniest gags you've done.
I think that's from like the first episode as well. But yeah.
I tried one of
Yeah.
those similar sort of edits before with uh Spider-Man and Doc Ock falling on the train, and then inside Andrew Garfield falls off the ceiling. Um,
Oh yeah, you've told me about that. Yeah, I still
yeah,
because
I
I
know.
haven't done like an episode since the X-Men one. So yeah, I should get on that.
Oh, I love this line coming up. You know how much I sacrificed.
Yeah, so good.
I started this company. I do love the smile that
Oh
he has
yeah.
at the end, because I can just imagine if that scene went on for longer, the other people would be like, okay.
What are you smiling at? We're firing.
Normally kind of creeping us out. Go see the Lion King.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Like when you see Times Square in movies, it's like what what's happening on Broadway in the
Yeah.
time.
I also think these big balloons are a bit obviously CG.
Yes, and you also know that your film took place in the early 2000s when Macy Gray is in it. God damn it.
There are a couple of shots here where they've actually flipped them around. Tobey Maguire lifting up the camera to take the picture is actually a mirror
Yeah,
image
yeah.
for
His
some reason.
hair, you can tell by his hair, it's parted in different places when
Yeah,
in different shots.
but they've done that in a lot of movies.
Oh yeah, I mean that's you just happen to notice it because of the way his hair's parted.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
I used to have this version of Mary Jane as a toy as well.
oh really?
Yeah,
I I've always thought it was funny that I love that shot there of like Peter just looking up at them and Harry's like, oh shit. But I've always thought it was weird that MJ wore that. Like, Harry makes the remark of, why did you wear the black one or the black dress or whatever? And it's like, why does she dress like that? There's no good reason for her to be dressed like a. Well, I mean, I don't know what she's dressed like. It's almost like Asian sort of get up. I don't
yeah.
get it. Macy Gray's acting there of shock and awe. God, I hate that woman.
For years, I didn't even know that that was meant to be someone real.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I was like super into you know, being up to date with popular music during this time for
yeah.
whatever reason. So like Macy Gray was one of those really popular artists at the time, and I could not stand her. I didn't like her voice. I didn't like her music. And then when she showed up in Spider-Man, I was like, you've
Uh,
got to be kidding me.
After the Amazing Spider-Man 2, and after how much the product placement pissed me off, I've never really noticed how much there's also a scene in Times Square here. Oh, there was Stanley.
Yes.
But yeah, I've never really noticed how much product placement is in this scene as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's Times Square.
It is
That's
Times
that.
Square. Green
Yeah.
Goblin does, however, fly around the whole thing for us to get a 180 view of all the adverts. So
Well, I mean, I'm not sure how much they like if that's necessarily a product placement because I don't know if they would have received any payment from these companies
yeah, I
because
suppose with if it's Times Square, there's probably an agreement somewhere that says you know all these
yeah,
places get paid or not if it's in a movie. Because Times
um,
Square is such a popular place.
it is, yeah, and yeah, I think you probably have an agreement if you're in Times Square, you can't sue like any movies or television or that choose
Yeah,
to film there because it's all there.
just gotta say
Um,
I love that extra that goes, "It's Spider Man."
yeah, I think she's like the daughter of one of the producers or something as well.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yes,
I do
and
like that shot of him running sideways on the building.
yeah,
I've
it's
always thought
cool.
that looked cool. Always used to
And
tick me off how that kid just stood there.
yeah,
I was like, what? Why is he just standing?
I surrender. I love Defoe.
Have you seen the outtake of him in this scene where he just starts dancing?
Oh yeah,
Oh, it's hilarious.
and he's like starts like motioning to grabbing people's backsides and everything.
Yeah.
He looked like he had such fun
Oh, this
making
this
this film.
definitely looks like a film that was a lot of fun to film and act in.
Yeah.
Fun fact, because of the CGI and the costumes, the color of the costumes, for the Green Goblin they had to use a blue screen, and for Spider-Man they had to use a green screen.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
That's a cool fact. I would never have thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you when I heard about it first time, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if Green Goblin were by a green screen, he would have just faded into nothing
Yeah.
apart from the eyepieces.
Yeah.
The only
Those
thing I
horrible yellow eyes.
the only thing I think that could have been improved, and it does get improved in the sequel, is the lighting. Um,
Yeah.
this scene in particular where they're fighting looks just a bit too plastic for me.
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
Well, not too plastic to the point when I can't accept it. It just looks very plastic. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a softer, smoother lighting thing that they do in the sequel that makes it look more like a movie. Um,
There's something weird about the way Raimi makes these films because they look like all three films were made by three different directors.
yeah.
You know, the just like whether it's like maybe there's a change in DP, I don't know, but like
Well, the
the way
aspect
they're
ratio
shot,
completely changes in for
well,
the sequel.
yeah, exactly. I mean, look at the aspect ratio in this film.
Yeah.
Jeez. Um, but yeah, that was sort of a big iconic shot
Yeah, with
there of
the
MJ swinging with him.
I did used to wonder how on earth he managed to get how they managed to do that movement on the one swing.
Yeah,
Go round the
and
building, up, and all that kind of stuff. I do like this bit, which says, "Who are you?" And he says, "You know who I am.
yeah.
You friendly neighborhood Spider-Man."
I also love how he changes his voice slightly. I think that's great.
Yeah.
It's subtle. Um, and also, he opens up, his conversation with MJ here by saying, "Well, Pete's taking the subway." It's like, what are you doing? She just looks like the biggest idiot ever, not figuring out who he is as well. Like,
Wait,
that's a line that's
did he
always
say
bugged me.
Pete is taking the subway?
Yeah.
I thought he said Beats taking the subway.
Oh, you're probably right. Okay, never mind. I thought it was Pete is taking the subway for years. I was like, why does he say that? Ah, okay, never mind. I'm sorry, Spider-Man.
You were
I just
wrongfully
criticized you
accused.
for something that I was completely wrong about. I still love you.
I do like this back and forth on the phone.
Yeah.
What do you mean incredible?
Sound like the bed bugs bite and everything. Yeah. He's trying so hard to be like, the sexy, caring boyfriend, but yeah, poor Franco. He spilled some tomato sauce on his shirt, or maybe that's blood.
Did Franco dye his hair for this role? Do you know? Because that's not his
I
natural
don't.
color.
I presume he did. Yeah.
It is interesting having grown up with Spider-Man and seeing James Franco and all these other movies. I remember I would
Yeah.
always be like, "Hey, look, it's Harry Osborn."
Yeah, same. Yeah, and now, I mean, I don't even think of him as Harry Osborn. Funny enough, like
Yeah,
he's grown beyond that status.
yeah. Well, like I
Um,
was saying, it almost seems as if Spider-Man's an odd choice for him now in comparison to the
yeah,
rest of his role.
yeah. This scene might be my favorite scene of any movie ever.
There's a lot. This is a very clever. This is very cleverly directed.
It
Um,
is, yeah,
the way because I remember looking in the mirror constantly and not noticing that he was doing the movements in real life as well. But then when he
yeah.
turns around, he changes the smile to a normal to as if he's just looking at it normally. Defoe as well. This must have taken ages to get right, but
Oh yeah,
it's very well done.
and just the way he struts at the beginning there. Oh, for you, Norman.
Uh,
I love how he says Norman as if it's the beginning of a new sentence as well. All for you, Norman. So good.
We killed them. I do love the laugh at the end.
Oh yeah, yeah. And obviously, like I've the face is something I love dearly, but
Willem
yeah,
to
it's
face.
I'm gonna start calling it that. Just his eyes as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes the laugh at the end is how he like widens his eyes at the end.
Yeah, I remember that bit used to make the back of my hair, the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Yeah,
I
love
remember
it.
I remember going past that building and being like, Daily Bugle.
Yeah, same. Yeah, like wait a second, this building exists.
And yeah, I remember the lady on the yeah, we went on a tour bus and they were like, and for fans of Spider-Man, this is where the Daily Bugle is set. And I was like, yay!
Uh,
I trust my barber.
it's such a thing that he would say as well.
Yeah. But I will be right back.
Okay, no worries. I'll entertain everybody. Uh-oh. Here comes Norman. Oh no! I love Elizabeth Banks trying to stay on the phone like a good secretary. It's cool that you could easily look at J. Jonah Jameson as an antagonist in the film because of how he treats Spider-Man. I knew you were in this together. I do love though that he like protects Peter there, and I love that. He's not a total bad guy. As a kid as well. The because when I think about this film, I think about how I reacted to things as a kid. Uh, I love how he webs Jameson's mouth shut.
I'm back, everyone.
Hey man,
I just want to say because I thought about it the second I got up. I always really liked how Jameson actually protects Peter's identity when
I
he
was just
asks
saying
about
that
it.
too. Yeah,
Shows that he's got a heart.
yeah. I was saying while you were gone, I'm just trying to fill the void of Sam. But you could easily look at JJ as an antagonist in this film because of how he treats Spider-Man and how he tries to portray Spider-Man to the public. But the way he saves Peter, he's actually a good guy.
Yeah.
He's just trying to make a buck. So
What do you think of the eyes being lifted up and seeing Defoe in the actual mask?
I think it's fine. A lot of people, and it's almost become a cliche as well, like Peter crying in these films. Everyone loves hating on the costume. And I've never had a huge problem with it. When you look at the prototype of where they tried to create a goblin face for him, I mean, I appreciated the attempt, but it looked like that would have been so restricting for Defoe.
Yeah.
And this was obviously the best way to do it with him still being able to give a performance. Because, talking about his eyes earlier, he has such expressive eyes.
Yeah.
And there are times, depending on the lighting, where you can also see his mouth through the foam, including when he says "impressive" earlier, and
Impressive.
but you can see his mouth doesn't even move. So
Yeah.
sometimes it works against the film.
I
But
mean, the
yeah,
only time I really have a problem with the suit is only really when I see Spider-Man and him in the same shot. It just looks a bit goofy. But, um, you know, it's a difficult costume to translate to film.
yeah,
Somehow he has a plastic mask that moves exactly the same as his normal face with eyebrow movement and all that kind of stuff. That's a
yeah,
problem with comic books in general. Spider-Man's
yeah,
eyes get bigger.
yeah. Spider-Man's eyes, become expressive as well in the
Yeah.
comics and the cartoons.
Um.
Um,
So
there's no way around that. In
yeah.
you can't do that in film.
And to be fair, it is a difficult costume to get right. I mean, just look at the new Amazing Spider-Man 2. Um,
Yeah,
he looked fucking awful.
Goblin.
Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't look great. And that was them trying to make the green that his actual skin in his face.
yeah.
I have always loved Kirsten Dunst in the scene.
Oh, what the why would you be?
Yeah,
Yeah, she's almost flirting with him.
yeah, like the little eyebrow raise there.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you
she's
can
she
instantly see
she's
why.
clearly charmed by him.
Yeah, yeah, and that she also gets somewhat of a kick out of, and she just called him Tiger there as well, which
It's
was
probably the only
sort of a.
time it ever works in the series.
I don't mind it in the second film at the very end because
I
it's
like it at the end as well. Yeah,
yeah, it's a moment in the second film. It's like she finally, it was like a thing where the fans went, "Oh, cool!" She called him Tiger,
yeah.
and
That was
it
it was
works there as
it
well.
was icing on the cake at the end.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like now they're together, awesome.
yeah,
Now this where they're running is actually a little bit out of focus. I just noticed. Um,
yeah. It's true. Yeah, when you're watching this sort of like in Blu-ray, little
yeah,
flaws sort of become noticeable.
I do like how she defends herself and fights back.
Yeah, and also,
People often complain about that's always been a cool shot where all of them
yeah,
get yanked off like a domino effect. But a lot of people complain about the fact that she screams a lot, and yeah, it can get annoying, especially towards the end. But she's not completely, she doesn't do nothing. But and as you
and
get older,
Dunst,
this scene gets a lot better because someone's not wearing a bra.
yeah, well, at the very, I think she is, but it's soaking wet. So, um,
I I
but
do
yeah,
I do like the how they hid Tobey Maguire's face, but he must have had to be fucking the Flash to go all the way up, put on the mask, and go down at that speed.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same thing as like he disappears like Batman,
Yeah,
uh, in this film as well. But I've this scene is like when those guys are probably gonna rape and murder her. Like that's a really dark thing um, that they put in this film. That as a kid, you probably don't think of what they're gonna do.
yeah. As a kid, I just thought it was a mugging.
Yeah, like that guy pulls out a knife,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's that.
suggestive.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah,
I still think this is a cool scene. I've always thought this was well done, and the music that Elfman wrote for it, um, you can understand why it appealed to a large audience.
yeah,
Women would have got a kick out of this scene.
yeah, yeah,
And me as a kid, I'd be like, oh, that's cool. I wish I was Spider Man, getting a kiss off
yeah.
women.
I remember thinking as a kid that I was afraid she was going to take his mask fully off.
Yeah, I
I was like,
remember
no,
thinking
don't do it, Peter. I was like the kid in Spider-Man 3. I was
that.
like, no,
No, Spider
don't
Man,
do
no.
it. Yeah. Yeah, Kirsten Dunst, A plus for that scene.
This is pretty convincing. All this fire stuff is CGI.
Is it really? I mean, I guess
Some
it
of the
would be.
some
Yeah.
of the close ups are real fire, but the shots where you're looking at the building and they're coming out the windows, that's all CG.
Right. Yeah.
Another use of the spider cam looks fantastic.
Oh yeah.
They get really up close. This was a big deal back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, like the motto for the first Superman film was "You will believe a man can fly," and they had the motto of if you could make them believe that he was flying and make it look convincing, then you've done it.
Yeah,
And it's the same sort of principle with Spider-Man here. Whereas if they didn't nail the web slinging, yeah, it's so iconic looking.
yeah. I remember in the trailer it said something like "prepare to get swung for a ride" or something like that.
Yeah,
The trailer really helped promote the film. It really jacked people up for it.
yeah. I love the line there as well of "Bless you, Spider-Man." There's those people in the city, that will support him no matter what, and
Yeah,
and love him for the good that he does. He just saved a baby, just risked his life.
And that also, in terms of the trilogy, it makes sense why at the third film he's finally getting appreciated because you got little
Yeah,
things like that, but in the second film it's actually a story point where the people on
yeah,
the train actually see his identity and they see that he's a good person. I've always
yeah,
found this bit funny. It's so obviously the Green Goblin.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I do love how
Ah!
this frightened the shit out of me. I mean, jeez.
I do like
But
some of the shots where he gets kicked and he's just getting pulled and further. It's like bloody hell, that's a powerful kick. They do that in the
yeah,
parade scene as well, where he just keeps
yeah,
going through glasses and on a lamppost and everything.
yeah. I love how they found a way to give the Green Goblin his purple robe for a second as well.
Oh yeah,
That was cool.
this bit was quite cool. Bit
Yeah,
of slow motion. I do like that he's also clearly aware of them as well, that they're coming back
yeah.
the way.
Like that one hits him from behind. Like that's,
Yeah.
like his spider sense, is kicking in and everything. But oh yeah, that was a powerful kick. Jesus,
Huh.
just sent him through like three rooms.
No one says no to me. I like how he's got a little thingamabob on his mouth there. Oh,
Yeah,
that transition is just brilliant.
I love it, and the sounds it's making. Work was murder. I still say that in my day to day life. I mean, you and I are both people who quote movies a lot, I'm
Yeah.
sure, and but yeah, I quote Defoe way too much.
I
Also, I've never noticed this. He just handed Harry his jacket. I've never noticed that, but he just gives his son his jacket as if to say, he doesn't even have to say put this on a rack somewhere or hang this up for me. He just gives it to him. The way he looks
the
her up
way,
and down,
yeah.
Jesus. That smile. Like, my son's doing well.
This will do nicely. This bit was always a tense scene as a kid.
Yeah.
Is that his?
The
Oh,
way
because there's a red and blue, like some kind of clothing hung up, and I for a second I thought, wait, did he just take the? Because it's behind Norman.
Oh yeah. It's like
For I wondered
a
if that was like a
blue
spare
hoodie.
Spider-Man suit or something.
It's like a blue hoodie on a red coat hanger.
Yeah. Now this bit, when Norman looks down, in that second, Spider-Man would have had to again be the Flash.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't make any, and I love how it's closer to the camera when it pans back down.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's things that like it doesn't make any sense, when you truly think about it and break it down, but it's still really cool. And it's Spider-Man stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
I do like how everyone looks just bored before Peter shows up.
Yeah. Oh, when's the life of the party gonna get here? It's also a basketball that's just
Yeah, I
sitting
was going to
there on the
mention that.
wall.
It's just sitting there.
I think this apartment looks really cool. It's just it's what I imagine a New York apartment to look like.
Yeah.
There are New Yorkers watching this that are, I'm sure, going, "Oh God, this Australian guy." But still,
I gotta say, he could have done a better job at, wiping up the blood, maybe.
well, I mean, it's an open wound. Like he should have wrapped it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
The fact that he didn't think about that was kind of
It's also further up his arm than it was when he actually got it.
Oh, really?
It was a
I
shot
guess it
ago. Now
is.
it's further down. Yeah, maybe I'm just making up stuff, but I could have sworn a couple shots ago it was actually further up his arm.
Yeah, I was going to say when it first happened, I sort of picture it on his forearm, and here it's sort of more close to his wrist, but
Yeah.
little continuity.
Ah, well. Something has come to my attention.
All Harry wants to do is impress his dad. It's such a. I've heard Defoe talk about how the meat of the role was the father role, not playing the Green Goblin per se. And yeah, these scenes, you could analyze these scenes on their own, just the relationship between these two characters.
Yeah.
You could study those scenes and the relationship between them, without even mentioning Spider-Man, as like Peter being Spider-Man.
I also think Kirsten Dunst looks really pretty here.
Yes, I've never quite understood the look that Peter gave her earlier when he's talking about, Norman's talking about, you think she likes you for her personality and all that all that sort of stuff. Like, he has this look in his face, and like he raises his eyebrows. I think it's meant to be that's Norman, but it almost comes across like, well, he's right.
Yeah, he's
It's
got a
just,
point.
yeah, it's weird the way it looks, but I'm sure what he was going for was, just listen to this guy
I
and
do
the way
like
he talks to his son. But yeah,
I do like this scene as well. It's almost Shakespearean. Um, the way he's tormented by this mask and he crawls up to it. It's very theatrical. I really like it.
yeah.
By the fireplace and all that kind of stuff.
And I have this in action figure form, still in the box. I got this a few
Fantastic.
months ago. Yeah, like it's Norman, and it's the chair with the Goblin mask on the arm like that. So
Wow.
that's still in the box. I'll take it out when I have a good place to display it. It's too good.
Someone should cosplay as that chair with the mask on their shoulder. I've always noticed there's a bit of I now notice that it's leaves in Blu-ray, but I always saw the green behind the window, and I was like, is he just waiting?
It's just watching her pray. Like, oh, now's a good time.
I do I do like this bit. Finish that.
Yeah. And just the joy he gets from tormenting this elderly woman. It's oh man.
I do like that they clear this up. That he says he knows who I am.
Yeah.
It's like, oh
And
shit.
and the reaction he has there earlier, when she says those horrible yellow eyes, his eyes widen. It's just, oh crap, Green Goblin
Yeah,
attacked her. And then the second reaction of, oh shit, he knows who I am. It's once again layered. I really
yeah.
like it.
I also like how they've got the picture of the three of them
Yeah,
on the
that's
left hand
nice.
side. It almost reminds you that his personal life is really being affected by his being Spider Man,
Yeah,
and he even looks at it there. So
mm,
nice moment.
yeah,
And I like that they keep continuity, and he's got his glasses on.
yeah. Same. That's something I appreciated. I
It
remember
drives
thinking
me
that.
nuts when that kind of stuff happens in movies or TV shows where someone had a particular hairstyle at one particular point, and they go back in time and they've got the same hairstyle as they presently do.
Yeah,
That's always a nitpick, but it's always like, oh, come on.
yeah. I appreciate it when you see photos and stuff from the past,
Yeah.
and they look extremely different. Like, that's something that Arrow I think does really well.
Yes.
Because they give Oliver Queen that bleached blonde hair, before he went to the island and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
He has to put that on every single time.
yes,
Good on him, Mel.
yeah,
I do like this back and forth. I've said this constantly. I like this back and forth. I like this back and forth, but there there are good things. I don't know what I'm talking. I don't know where I'm going with this.
well, there are good scenes that I
Yeah,
think the actors, do really well, and this is one of them. I love. I do think that the way he describes MJ in that it's a little cheesy, but this reaction here of oh him, I've always
yeah.
liked that.
I've got to
He is
say
extremely cool.
Sorry,
That's cool.
I've just got to say to anyone that's watching this and thinking you were a little harsher on this in your original review. Yeah, things change, so do opinions. I've grown more kinder towards it. I think it's there's part of me that would like to go back and maybe readdress it. I might do a video on it at some point. Um,
Right.
but I don't. The recently Nostalgia Critic came out with his old versus new, and I haven't even watched it yet because I know it'll piss me off.
Yeah, I personally don't watch his stuff, but yeah, you know, I understand why people might not like this film, and certainly I do look at this film, you know, with rose-colored glasses. You know, I definitely loved this film as a kid, and there's nostalgia to it, but I also think it's a solid film, and it's a solid Spider-Man story.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
and
some people have grown too. Um, some people expect too much from superhero movies now that we've had, the proof that you can adapt it pretty much verbatim. Um,
right, yeah,
and I think some people look back on these movies where there were restrictions. It was a more difficult time for superhero movies to, be exactly what people wanted them to be because everyone has their own idea of what a Spider-Man movie should be like. You know, I have
yeah,
I love this Spider-Man movie, but there are things that I would there are things I would do differently. Um, but I can
sure,
still
yeah,
appreciate it from a filmmaking perspective. It's still a good movie. I'm still invested in the characters. It still focuses on what should be focused in a Spider-Man movie. His
yeah,
personal life getting affected by his being Spider-Man is addressed. Um, I'm involved in the characters. Um, and so the fact that he doesn't have web shooters, I could not care less about that. So I think people
no,
just need to be just not expect too much and be a little more. They need to think about it in the overall scheme of things. It's got to be a movie, not just a hey, those comic books were great sort of thing.
yeah. I feel really bad for Harry in that scene.
Yeah,
Like he was coming along being a nice guy visiting Aunt May, you know, in hospital and sees his girl and his friend holding hands.
I do
But
love
at the
this.
same time,
Sorry, go on.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, but at the same time, you know, he went behind his friend's back and asked out the girl he loves. So
Yeah, I gotta say I do love that moment where he comes in and he just hears and he says dad and he comes out he's like yeah what.
what do you want?
But I do like this
Yeah,
bit where they hug, and it's almost as if he'd never hugged him before.
yeah, yeah. Like
James Franco
Harry,
actually does a really good job with the performance here. He really
I
gets Harry
agree.
Osborn as a character.
Yeah,
In fact, both of
and
them
like
do.
I said, well, yeah, these two really feel like a father and son, and
Yeah,
obviously look wise, it's great casting, but the way they play it, they really got that, and it's one of the things that I think to properly do Norman Osborn, the father son dynamic is something that you have to nail.
yeah, and I mean, I like how he just comes out and admits failure here with Norman.
Yeah,
It's almost as if he's stopped trying to, you know, be some terrific son. And Norman actually respects him more and sympathizes with his situation. Of course, he's looking at it from the villain perspective of, haha, now I know who to threaten to get back at Spider-Man. But to Harry, it's almost as if I'm finally reaching that comfortable place with my dad. And then you really sympathize with his situation when his dad gets killed the second later.
yeah.
You understand why Harry feels the way he does, especially leading into the second film.
I mean, I think Harry's arc in these three films is something that's really, really cool. You know, in the second film, how he's, you know, trying to live up to his father's mantle and you know, as head of the company, and you know, like when he introduces Peter to Otto and is like, "Ah, rich, rich, and we're all gonna be rich. I'll see you in Sweden," and
Yeah,
you know, all that sort of stuff. Like he's so funny pretending to be someone he's not, you know,
yeah,
and his obsession with Spider-Man after, you know, because he's once again he's trying to live up to his father, and you know, Spider-Man took his father away from him the way
yeah.
he sees it.
And there's I like that. Um, that sort of slow progression of obsession and insanity almost. Um,
Yeah,
I think that works really well with him becoming the next Goblin. Obviously, there's the drug one, which has been done in other incarnations, but I like this one as well.
yeah,
It does never get explained how he doesn't completely go apeshit when he takes the same medicine in the third film, but we keep talking about the third film a lot.
yeah. It's just because it was such a great start, and like as a trilogy, because this was sort of like the second sort of complete superhero trilogy of the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was the Superman films, and then they made the fourth film. So I'm looking at that as a film series, and the the not sorry the Burton Schumacher Batman films I just don't think feel like a film series at all.
No,
Um,
every single each individual film in that series feels like it was by a different director.
exactly, yeah,
Similar
and they
with
feel
this,
like
except it was actually one director.
right, yeah. But they also feel like you know, different Batman as well. Like,
Yeah.
Kilmer's Batman is, feels like he's going through a different he's gone through a different arc to Keaton's, and Keaton even in Batman Returns, is a different character to Batman 89's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but like obviously you had the X-Men trilogy, and then you had the Spider-Man trilogy, and then you had, Nolan's Batman trilogy. So it's funny how this was sort of like the first one to do it with the same filmmaker in all three films,
Yeah.
and once again how different those films feel even though it's the same filmmaker. But yeah, I was going to make a point, I can't quite remember what it was now, but oh right, it was going to be like if you look at the arc of the characters that are in all three films, Peter and MJ and Harry, as in terms of the main principal characters. It's not like J. Jonah Jameson really has a clear story arc over all three films, apart from he wants photos of Spider-Man. But yeah, it is interesting seeing like Harry's character arc in all three films, and how in the third film it's not completely consistent.
Yeah. Just gonna say a second ago, can you imagine if Mary Jane hadn't ducked when Green Goblin went past? Would have chopped her head completely off.
It's like,
I do like this flag thing of him propelling himself because they do that in the
oh
second
Sam,
film as well.
yeah, I like the creative things they had him do with the webs.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, it is funny. If like MJ didn't duck, then like his big elaborate plan here wouldn't have come to fruition. It's like, well, good thing she ducked out of the way.
Let die the woman you love. Suffer the little children.
Uh,
There's not one line that goes by that you can't quote from the first.
oh yeah, yeah. It's also the way he delivers them.
Yeah.
It's great dialogue, but he delivers them so perfectly.
I can imagine Steve Buscemi would also have been good in this role. I don't know why. I don't know why I bring that up.
He's got a similar sounding voice, I guess, in some
Yeah,
ways.
probably not as charismatic
Wow,
though.
shows. Yeah.
Now, do you reckon they're going for a little bit of a wink to the fans about the Gwen Stacy bit
Oh yeah,
with the
totally.
bridge and the
Yeah.
Green Goblin?
I mean, even if it wasn't intended, I mean, it's impossible not to look at it that way. I
Yeah,
feel like it's Goblin, doing it as well.
yeah,
If like it was Doc Ock throwing MJ off a bridge, I mean, you could say it's a stretch, but
yeah.
it's Norman doing it. I feel like it's also the way it says like "let die the woman you love," and like I was saying earlier, quoting "you murdered the only girl I'll ever love."
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
I do like these guys on the boats that the guys on the boat that come and help them. Again,
yeah,
it's and again this was made in a very you know a time where America felt vulnerable and they had to. There was a spirit going around that that I don't know how to phrase it. After 9/11, it was a situation where if this were happening, they would all hope to band together to fight the greater evil or something
exactly.
like that. And While yes, that's indicative of the time that it was made, I also think it works in terms of Spider-Man and the general public.
Yeah, like what he represents as a character,
Yeah,
I think is really important. And I do think, I mean, this film was made, you know, pre 9/11. It's obviously they were still making the film, after in terms of post production and everything. But I do believe the film was all filmed by the time 9/11 took place. So this film like really represents, so much of what New York, would really help define New York, I should say.
yeah.
The way they band together and the fact that they can overcome so much, and the way they, like you said, band together here to help Spider-Man, to help one of their own, I think is really important.
You lived in New York for no, not in New York. Did you live in New York for a little bit?
I didn't live in New York. I lived in LA,
Oh, okay.
but I did visit New York for a good couple of weeks. But I'd love to live in New York. I love that city. I think it's
Yeah.
great. I got something for your ass.
Is that meant
That
to be?
guy,
Is that meant to be anyone, or is it just a funny guy?
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it is like a comedian or something, but he's in the second film.
Is he?
Yeah, he's the one when Peter runs into the burning building. It's like, there's someone trapped on the
Oh
third
yeah,
floor.
he
Where
is.
are you going? Like,
He is. I
okay,
completely forgot. Do you think
yeah.
this scene is a? Because now we're going into the graveyard-esque
Yeah.
warehouse building. Do you think this is dark, or too dark? Because I've never really had a problem with it.
As a kid, I remember thinking like I was frightened by this.
Yeah,
The lighting and just seeing Spider-Man in such a vulnerable position, unlike we'd seen him in the film yet.
yeah,
Um, like little things like when he goes to spin the web and Goblin steps on his hand. I mean, it's very graphic, this scene compared to the rest of the film. I don't have a problem with it. I'm glad it's here because it shows, you know, the lengths that Norman and his, in his madness is willing to go,
yeah.
and the lengths that Peter is willing to go, to stop this guy. Um, and how high pitched like Tobey Maguire's voice is when he lands on the ground. Jesus Christ! But
Yeah. I did that bit. It's very hard not to laugh at that bit.
oh yeah, I've always thought that was hilarious. But yeah, like I love this, like him trying to trap him with the
Yeah,
webs. That was cool.
I love whenever they remind us that he's a spider.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
I
That,
I also think they made the ripped mask look cool, even though
yeah,
obviously he's been completely beaten up. It still looks
yeah.
cool for like a damaged Spider-Man look.
It is, yeah,
And when he gets
oh,
angry, you're just like, yeah, get him,
yeah.
Spider-Man. And out of nowhere, there's a trident.
Josh, where does he get that from?
Oh,
Jeez,
I love that.
pulls it
Oh.
from his ass. Just suddenly he's got a trident. Where do you keep that? I, I love this here as well. If he just squishes him.
Yeah. Boom.
Whoa! Like there, I mean, the shot's completely different there. Like the bricks are all broken up and
Yeah.
everything. But the shot before that, the wall just fell flat.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? I mean, it's you can argue if they're nitpicks or problems. I think they're problems, but I'm not bothered by them because
No.
it's
It's like, how else was he gonna get out?
yeah,
And it's again, like you were saying with the layered thing, I really do like this, the book-ended um fathers and role models theme that they have playing here, with
yes,
originally Peter, you know, sort of disregarded his comment about being a father, and here he does come right out and say that Uncle Ben was his dad.
yeah, exactly. Um, do you think? that this is Norman being genuine, or is it the Goblin here?
I've never really been able to tell.
Because I've always thought it was Goblin just trying to manipulate Peter here, pretending to be Norman. It's like this self-aware Goblin, knowing that he's got a split personality, trying to
They do
manipulate the situation.
they do openly have him sort of make a weird eye look with his eyes as if the Green Goblin is coming back out when he says, "Godspeed, Spider-Man."
Yeah, I mean the fact that he has also like sicked the glider on him here.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. And this is a cool little wink to the fans as well. But although
Yes.
seriously, did they have to stab him in the balls? God, that's so
Oh
dark.
wow, you're right.
I've
I've
always
never
found
noticed
this
that.
like I've always found this like, oh my god. That is
That
a
is not the way to go.
oh. And he looks as if it really hurts 'cause he's like, ah,
Yeah,
right in the
he's
bollocks, Jesus. When I watched that originally, I was like, oh my god. I jumped
gets
up and held
stabbed in
onto
the
my
spot.
balls because I was like, oh god.
Yeah, I'd never noticed that. Yeah.
The awkward moment when Harry looks at the wound.
Well, also there's the his butler that goes, "I cleaned his wound." Like he cleaned his smushed up balls. Like, okay.
His balls are probably still attached to the wall.
Oh, Jesus. They got chopped off in the glider.
But yeah, I've always appreciated how they sort of had winks to the iconic imagery from the comics, but they also did their own thing. They told their own story.
Yeah, I mean it's very close to how he got killed in the comics the first time.
Yeah,
So
and they lead into the same. It starts at the bridge, it ends in that sort of dark place.
yeah, with the glider.
Yeah,
It's
and it's the girl. It's his love for Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy, whichever way you want to look at it, that compels him to keep fighting and all that kind of stuff. Even
yeah,
it's a different situation. Originally, he wanted revenge, but similar sort of thing. I do like this entire scene where
same.
Harry is so completely distraught, and Peter just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
He just has this look of utter confusion of how to feel about this.
I love the line, I swear on my father's grave, Spider-Man will pay,
Yeah,
but you're the only family I have left, Peter. It's just like, oh man, the poor predicament that this guy's going to be in.
yeah,
And, once again, it's they didn't know if they were going to come back for a sequel, but they so perfectly set one up without it being on the nose. Like,
yeah,
this is the next villain we're doing. And I mean, I like the Joker card scene in Batman Begins. Um, and I'm not trying to say that that was bad. I just mean, films since then have straight up been like, this is the next villain that's coming.
yeah. Well,
And
originally I didn't know they were going to be making a sequel to Batman Begins. I originally thought when I first saw it that Batman Begins was meant to be a prequel to the Tim Burton film,
oh, really?
which of course now makes no sense because they're completely different universes. Uh,
Yes.
but
And
being a
Joker.
kid, I had no I had no grasp of the concept of reboots and reimaginings and different timelines and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember I was the same. Like they made a new Batman film, I was like, oh man, why is Alfred not the same and stuff. Like, I didn't know that it was going to be a completely different thing,
Yeah,
even
I,
though
I
the
had
title
also
Batman
not seen
should
the
tip me off.
I'd also not seen the Tim Burton Batman movie in donkey's years, so
Yeah, same. Yeah,
I do love this
I
scene.
yeah, so do I.
Yeah, and it just it shows you how much Peter as a character has grown by the end. You know,
Yeah,
all he's
and
ever
MJ as
wanted.
a character as well.
Yeah, all he's ever wanted is to be with Mary Jane, but
Yeah,
this whole situation has taught him a massive life lesson. If he wants to be
yeah,
Spider-Man and he knows he has to be Spider-Man, then he can't be with people. And that's
yeah.
both wonderfully sad and very noble.
Yeah,
And but I do love this whole bit where they kiss, and Maguire's acting is very very good here.
yeah,
I do like the bit where she touches her lips as if she realizes, wait, hang on.
yeah.
And I also like how people will complain about her in Spider-Man 2, but I see it from the perspective of she knows he's Spider-Man and she's just pissed off at him for not telling her.
To you,
Yeah, I mean, some people see it as a sort of Lana thing from Smallville in similar sort of thing. Um,
right?
and she is a bit of a bitch in Spider-Man 2 in times, particularly when she's talking to her fiance and she says he's a big jerk for no apparent reason. Um,
I've always chosen not to think that she knows, is certain that Peter is Spider-Man, because if she did, then there's no excuse for her to act like a bitch the way she does, because she should know that saving the city should come first,
yeah,
and he misses things because he's Spider-Man. But
yeah,
that's
true.
something we can get into in that film. But I do love, like, the fact that she's grown. I love the line here in this scene where she said, you know, you've made me feel like I can be me, and because that is what we've talked about earlier, how she's the popular girl and everything, but she's someone else,
Yeah.
deep down.
Yeah, you could also look at it in the sense that she thought for a second he was Spider-Man and then she just let it go. And she thought,
Right,
oh,
yeah,
maybe not. I do like this bit, in contrast to when originally we zoomed out of his Spider-Man eyepiece. Now we zoom into Peter Parker. Oh, we don't actually zoom in, we zoom out, sorry.
yeah.
So I'm just talking bullshit. I do like this end bit, though. I always thought this was really cool.
Same.
The way he runs up the building.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's exactly how you'd expect Spider-Man to move.
Yeah. And you got the American flag there. I do like
Yeah,
that final image.
same. And into the eye. Boom.
Well, that was
Good
Spider-Man.
movie.
I always enjoyed
That's
these credits because it always looked like the web was growing. I don't know why.
yes. I think it's funny how it says Spider-Man slash Peter Parker and Green Goblin slash Norman Osborn. It's normally, you know, the superhero persona is normally the second name.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to me. I remember thinking as well, just looking at the credits, the guy that sings, he dresses like a spider, he looks like a bug. But that guy, I thought that was the same guy as who sings Hero, which is of course Chad Kroger from
Yeah.
Nickelback. I thought that was the same guy when I saw the music video for Hero, but no, it is not. I can hear heaven. I think Hero is a good song. And they say that a hero could save us.
They based their entire music video on Spider-Man, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah, it's I actually really like the music video, how it's like on top of a building and everything. It's a cool music video. This film had two major songs, Hero and some song by some 41.
They're cool.
I remember them sort of being kind of a big deal, but haven't heard about those guys in years.
No, they were very much an era of the late '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands that are like Blink 182 and those sort of
Yeah.
punkish kind of rock bands.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of some 41, I think of movies like American Pie and stuff like that.
Exactly.
The kind
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
extreme teenager kind of thing.
Right.
So after you saw this movie, what did you seek out in terms of Spider-Man?
Um I don't know. Like I think I was more interested in getting the toys. Like after I saw this film,
Yeah,
um, it is funny because I still haven't read like a ton of Spider-Man stuff. I guess. Um, he's kind of one of those characters where if you've seen the films and you've seen the cartoons, then you have a really good knowledge of the character.
yeah,
Uh, because so much of if you've seen the '90s cartoon, you've seen Spectacular Spider-Man and you've seen all the films, then you know who Spider-Man is as a character. I feel like, or at least if you've seen the first two films, I think you get a good enough understanding of the character then.
yeah.
Um, I really like. I've always liked Spider-Man Blue by
I still
Jeff
haven't read
Logan
it. I've heard
himself.
it's very good.
Yeah, that's my favorite Spider-Man story personally, and I do love the death of Gwen Stacy. I think that's
Yeah,
once again it's a very layered story of uh, Norman being the Goblin, and Peter not knowing, and the woman he loves just getting killed. That's not something you see happen with characters.
yeah.
Uh, and I think it was one of the things that they did fairly well in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Um,
Scene wise, yeah.
yeah, in terms of adapting that scene, but yeah,
I mean, people will. There's a big thing about the fact that in the comic it's almost instantaneous, and you're sort of getting over the shock of what just happened.
right,
But I
yeah,
do like the way I some people will think the hand is corny. I didn't mind it. I thought it was quite nice.
I did quite like that, and the animated Spider-Man theme just started, by the way.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, the cartoon themes at the end here. Overhead.
Oh, all right.
Uh, yeah, oh, yeah, not the
I thought
not
you meant
the Phil
bow, down,
Aerosmith.
down,
I
down.
wish. If I made a Spider-Man film, I'd include that theme somehow.
What I loved in Spider-Man 3, it was one of the few um, jokes I got in terms of other Spider-Man stuff, is when Venom writes, like, he challenges Spider-Man, and it's in the font of the original animated show.
Yeah, I really like that too.
And I was like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that was a good film. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so did I. Uh,
That's
that actually
fun.
went very well.
Yes, yeah, it's 2 hours long, 2 hours and 1 minute. Like it's an easy film to get through. I feel like I said, it does jump a whole lot in terms of how much time it passes. He graduates high school, and then a few scenes later, he's in college. But yeah,
It's a story that spans a large amount of time.
sure,
Um,
yeah.
and I guess you got to give a bit of leeway there.
I also feel like for MJ to have the realization at the end that she does, the film does have to take place over a long period of time
Yeah.
because it's not like they share a ton of scenes.
No. No, I agree with you.
Mm.
Well, everyone, thanks for listening. We hope you guys had as much fun as we did. Hopefully, if you weren't watching the movie, we provided as much context as we could for what we were talking about. If you guys like this, be sure to drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think. I'm very much up for doing this again, Kurt, because I thought I had a lot of fun doing this.
As am I. This was a lot of fun, and it's so cool. And I know we've got to talk about Cap 2 and X-Men and Guardians this year, but it's always fun when we can come and talk about something that we really enjoyed.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
feel
It's
like,
I think it's
yeah,
important to go back as well and think about these things in context.
exactly. Yeah, looking at these with historical perspective is interesting. At a time when there weren't, four superhero films a year.
Yeah, yeah. Back in the day, eh?
Yeah, which is funny because the year after this film, X2, Daredevil, and Hulk all came out. So
Yeah. Well, this really, the second this hit, they were pumping out all the rest, or they started
yeah,
pumping out the rest.
exactly. Yeah, it's like X-Men told them, okay, we can make superhero films,
And
and
then
then
Spider-Man said we can make them fun.
yeah, and Spider-Man also proved that they could that could be appealing to everyone.
Yeah, and
Um,
they could
X
adapt
Men,
that light-hearted spirit.
exactly, yeah. Like X Men was a big success, but Spider Man was a huge success. Like Tobey Maguire has talked about in the past, like when they were making Spider-Man 1, the first Harry Potter film came out, and he was like, wow, imagine being in a film like that the world is just like enamored with, and it's super popular like that.
Yeah,
And little did he know he was making that sort of film. But I think it's funny to look back at it and think that there was a worry that Spider-Man wouldn't be a success
yeah,
because it's Spider-Man. It was the first Spider-Man film.
yeah,
And it's also amazing that it took them that long to make a Spider-Man film when you think about it.
yeah. And I find it interesting now with the somewhat mixed response it gets. I saw an issue of Empire magazine, which I don't know if you guys get in Australia. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, we sure do. Yeah,
yep,
it's huge over here as well.
yeah, and it was from 2002, and it was all about Spider-Man, and the reviews
That's
were over the top. They were insanely positive. People loved
yeah,
this movie when it came out. Um,
yeah,
it's
and
just it's interesting to think about that.
it is, and like you were saying, how it was a fun movie, like similar to how people have reacted to Guardians. I think
Yeah,
people, reacting to this of just how much fun it is. Like, I've, I love the Avengers, but I don't love it as much as some people because I do feel like some people love it as much as they do because of how much fun it is.
yeah,
And I think Spider-Man definitely made people feel that way as well. And like I said, the way Avengers made people feel, the way Guardians is making people feel, it was like this fun superhero film that had brightly colored characters. X-Men, had everyone in black leather, and but I think that works for that sort of X-Men film.
yeah, and
There's
also
no, sorry, I was gonna say there's no way you couldn't not do Spider-Man's costume properly. Like you had to do
yeah,
Spider-Man with that costume.
yeah, and also it came out during a time where America was hit hard. Um, it was a
Mm.
sad time. It was incredibly uplifting. Um,
Yeah,
it's almost similar to probably not as big in scale, but it's similar to Star Wars affecting people the way it did when the Vietnamese War was going on, or it just ended and stuff like that. Um,
right.
it thing movies can be quite powerful when you think about them in perspective of what's going on at the time, how people are feeling overall. They can be a force for good.
I agree. And it's a film that really showed off the city of New York. And
Yeah,
yeah, it's there's that one shot, like you said, of the Twin Towers in the reflection of Spider-Man's eyes, and I really wish they would release the original teaser trailer
so do I.
with the World Trade Center in high quality.
It is
I
a
think
terrific reveal trailer.
it is. It's one of the best teaser trailers of all time,
Yeah,
and teasers are somewhat of a lost art now. Like, the only people who really do teaser trailers now are like
Christopher Nolan.
Nolan, exactly, Nolan, Fincher, and J.J. Abrams. They're the only
Yeah,
ones who do teasers anymore. And I feel like, like the Spider-Man one, like Back to the Future and like Terminator 2, it filmed, a scene that was specific to the teaser. We think for all we know, that scene might have intended to have been in the film. Just the way it's shot, though, it feels a little different to the rest of the movie.
yeah, yeah.
So
It feels like if that, I'm sure if that were in the movie, it would have been cut more. It would have been more choppy in editing,
right,
because in that sequence it's more of a montage. Um,
yeah,
but in that particular trailer, it built suspense. You didn't really know what you were watching, and then that reveal, it's a big deal. And yeah, trailers are no one. The whole annoying thing with trailers with teasers nowadays is that no one wants to go out and film an extra bit just for some promotional material. They've already got the shots, they've got the footage, so they just cut it together as like a normal trailer, and that's not really what a teaser's meant to be.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I think, like I said, teasers are somewhat of a lost art now. It's a shame.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So again, thanks to everyone
On
for
that
listening.
note,
We do this. Um, yeah, thank you to everyone for listening. Again, comment, and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you for coming on, Kirk, as always.
My pleasure. Anytime.
And yeah, bye bye, everyone.
Bye.